hairline. This is a crown recipient site to sort of show the seams of the suit, so to speak, and you can see that how there's a nice, whorl pattern going around and then blending up into the vertex transition point. And you can see that the upper limb is greater density than the lower limb because the upper limb cascades over. So it's just using grafts wisely. This is actually a combination of parallel and perpendicular sites. The parallel sites, this is the temple, the right temple for your orientation. These are all sagittal or parallel sites. These up here are parallel sites. And then as we get into the temple to get a really flat, when I want that angle super hugging, I have it literally flush to the skin. These are all coronal or perpendicular, I'm sorry to use so many words, perpendicular sites. These are all parallel sites. So these are, you can see they're going this direction. Female hairlines are very different. We talked about the shape already, and we're also, what I'm looking at is the cowlick of how the hairs turn. I found a lot of women, the recipient sites actually almost go backwards, and I'm actually matching that shape. I'm looking for, there's a great article that came out just this last month in Dermatologic Surgery about female hair patterns. If you haven't read it, read it, and it'll tell you how natural hair patterns exist in women. It's almost the exact opposite of men. There's a closed down angle, there's these little lateral mounds, and the hair angles can oftentimes go almost the opposite direction, in my opinion. Some pointers here. When you look at the hairline, you want to build it forward, because if you start with the hairline and go back, sometimes it's too straight. So I like to sort of just build it into the hairline, creating sort of this micro coastline effect. Don't make it too irregular. Sometimes the temptation is let's make these big, juts, but a hairline doesn't necessarily look that way unless someone has a lot of recession. They could have something like that. The temptation is to make too much of these little eddies. I tend to make about 1 or 3 millimeter changes, and then I put these little sentinel hairs, which are bare hairs that stick out, to soften the hairline further. But you don't want to make it so loose and so wide that you can see the grafts, or you can see that it's too irregular. So actually this is a great example, because I think you can see some sentinel hairs that stick out. You can see it's not like this, they're just a little bit jaggedy. And actually, to teach you to see, I'm really glad if you look, there's a little hole here. And this photo was taken before I went and touched it up, but I would go back and put one site there. So your eyes want to be looking for holes, looking for little patterns. And the more you do, and that's what we're going to do in St. Louis, you'll make a pattern. I'll look at it, I'll show you the defects, and they're too close, too wide, the angles are bad. And that way you get some visual feedback with this. So seeing. The more you do, the more you see, and you're looking for those holes in the design. You're looking for areas too tight. You're making sure that your hairline stays straight, and you're constantly going between mag eyes and a full view of the head. And always recheck your hairlines from all different angles when you're done. Just recheck and check and recheck. And a good thing is too is that if you're not, you can still, with all the techniques I've told you, have a little darkening effect on the skin from vascular compromise. So you always should have nitro paste in your office, in my opinion. And this is just to show you the larger view of these parallel sites with the natural hairline, some of the sentinel hairs in the finished product going forward. You can see here the temples going down. It's a little bit out of focus, but some of those perpendicular sites over here, the upper lateral humping going downward, and that just really everything's forward angled and low, not splaying in this central mid-scalp. These are just some results here, some Asian hair. You can see very hard to manage with Asian hair, but you want to be able to keep the angles low. A realistic example of a gentleman with a significant hair loss and a comb over. Female, this is a 2-session treatment where you're really closing down that frontal temporal angle and really accentuating the nice quality of the female cowlick. This is, you can see, almost this sort of pubic hair looking type of kinky hair due to bad graft dissection and placement. You're going to hear Amina talk about that in a moment. Too straight a line, poor growth. This is a 1-session correction of that. This is almost this like pitting effect due to the, again, bad assistance, and also the hairline's too straight, the angles are too up, the hairline is unnatural, it doesn't match the temporal pattern, and this is a one-session correction. This is, you can probably see again, the angles are way too, now you understand why the angles have to go down, because these are way too straight. The hair doesn't match the temporal pattern. It's just way too straight. The angles go straight up in the air. This is a 1-session correction. And this is just a 1-session to show you what you can do with a gentleman with a pretty advanced stage of hair loss. And we're using multifollicular units, difollicular units can create a lot of visual density in 1 session. So just the goal here is take hair transplantation seriously, and that's what I do, and that's really what I want to teach you today. Use your artistry, and really begin to understand how hair grows. Until you understand hair loss patterns and natural hair angles and natural hair directions, you're going to be creating results that may not be optimal. So, and this is the course to give you a plug, not plugs, but plug for the course coming up. It's really hands-on, in my opinion. It's the first of its kind where you're able to go out there and I'm actually able to walk you through hairline design, walk you through. We have all the really great faculty to actually watch your site designs and critique it. Because you don't get feedback. You don't know if you're doing a good job out in the real world until you really get your hands dirty.